Hello friends and welcome to Edupedia World Videos. This is the course Basics of Programming in C language and we are studying about functions. So this is our first practical video on functions. Okay, so what we will try to do here is we will first declare a function, then we will try to call it in our main function. So right now for the first attempt, what we will do is we will declare the function and define the function in the same C file. Later on we will learn how to do this in various files. Okay, so declaration in header file and definition in some other C file and calling in some other C file. So this we will do it later on. First of all, let us do it in the single file for understanding basis. Okay, so this is a declaration, but I am going to write at this point of time. These are just the basic include files. Okay, so std standard input output.h and standard library.h. This is our main function, which is having the type that it will always return an integer in C language. Okay, and then the main function, and then we have a return 0, which will return 0 while the exit of the program. Okay, so now we will declare another function to calculate the sum of two digits. So we will take a simple objective that we have to create a function to calculate the sum of two digits. Okay, so we will first have to write the, let me write inside comments the syntax of function declaration. Okay, the first thing that comes is the return type of the function. Okay, return type means the data type of the output of that particular function. So what kind of value will that function return? Okay, then comes the name of that particular function. So here comes the function name after the data type, and then inside single braces what comes is your input parameters. Okay, so this is the function declaration syntax. So let us now declare a function in line with this. So our return type, since we are calculating the sum of two digits, okay, so the return type would be integer. So int. Now let us name our function as sum. Okay, now we will begin our brackets. In these brackets we will pass the input parameters. So the input parameters should be integers, obviously, because we want to calculate the sum of two digits, so we need two numbers over here. So let us name them as num1 and num2. So you have to write the data type of both these input parameters and then the name of those parameters. So these will just serve as the placeholders for the values. Okay, so this comes the function body. Just after the function declaration, you write the function body over here. Okay, and then you will write something to add these two values. So what you can do is you can take another variable inside the function. This variable would be, say, sum, and then you can make it equal to num1 plus num2. Okay, so we have taken a variable which will store the result of the addition of two input parameters, and then we will return that variable. So return sum. Okay, so now our function definition and declaration is complete. Here the definition and declaration are in the single line. Okay, this single line is serving as the definition as well as the declaration, because your function should be declared before your function call. So this particular line number 5, is before our function call. Okay, we will be calling our function over here in line number 13 in the main function. Before that we have declared that particular function, so we don't need to separately declare this function because we have defined it before our function call. Okay, so now what we have to do is we have to call our function. So to call our function, let us first take two variables that we will add finally. So let us take variable a, which we set to 9. Okay, then take another variable b and we set this to 8. So our sum should be 17. Okay, 9 plus 8 17. Okay, so now we will take another variable that will store the result of the addition. So we can straight away call the function over here. So int result equal to, and then our RHS, which would be the function call. Function call would be the syntax of the function call. Let us summarize it over here in a comment. So the syntax is some var, okay, with its data type, of course, data type, then your var name. This is your LHS or the left hand side. Then you will have an equal to sign, which is the assignment operator, and then you will have the function name, whatever function you want to call its name, then brackets, and inside the brackets you will pass the what is known as input arguments. Okay, so you have to remember that when we specify these over here, they are known as input parameters, and they just serve as the placeholders. Okay, or you can say that these are empty buckets that we specify over here, and whatever we specify over here is the actual value. So actual water that is to be filled in those empty buckets will be placed over here, and that value, whatever we pass over there, will reflect inside the function whenever you access these parameters. Okay, so now let us call the function. This is the syntax that we have to use. So we have already completed our left hand side. So data type is integer and variable name is result, and in function name you have to write the name of the function, that is sum. Okay, so our IDE is already suggesting the name. Okay, now our IDE is also suggesting that okay, this function sum exists and it returns an integer, and you have to pass two input arguments to this function. We can pass a comma b. Okay, and now let us try and print the value of our function result. So printf statement, first the constant string result is, and then have a format specifier because now we want to print an integer value. So we have the %t format specifier, which is used for integers, and then the result, which is the name of our variable which stores the result. Okay. So now our function call is complete and our output statement is also complete. Now let us save this code. Let us try to compile it. In case we have any errors, it will be reported over here, and in case our programs compile successfully, so it has compiled successfully, zero errors, zero warnings. Now let us try and execute the code. Okay, so our code has now executed and it has printed that result is 17 as expected. So now what we'll try and do is we'll just place a breakpoint inside our code. Let us say at the line number just before this function call. I'll place it at line number 13, the first line of our main function. So now our breakpoint is placed over here. Now what we'll do is we will try and run it in a debug mode, so you will see the actual flow of the code. And remember that presentation that in which we have done the working of function, we have discussed the flow theoretically. That is what we will do practically over here. Now press this red triangle to execute this code in a debug mode. So this yellow triangle over here means that our program is now executing, but it is waiting. It has been paused by the debugger and it is waiting for our input. So it will continue further when we press the next line button over here. Okay. So this next line button means that it has to go to the next line, whatever is the next line in the sequence. And in case you want to step into a particular function, so when you will come over this line over here, if you press the next line button, it will go to the 17th line straight away, and the function execution will not be shown. So will not actually go to the function, it will just execute that particular function but will not be able to see it. Okay, if you want to see it, then you will have to press this button, which means step into. So step into that particular line. Okay, so first let us traverse to this line by pressing the next line button. Okay, so now it is initialize the value of a. Now we have to press next line again. Okay, so now our first two lines have been executed, and this is a comment, so it has been skipped. So we have straight away at the line number 16, which is the call of the function. So in case we press next line over here, it will skip it. Okay, it will go to the printf statement, but we do not want that. We need to step into this particular function call. We need to step into sum. So for that, we press step into button. Okay, so now it is over here. So you can see that as soon as our function was called, our control straight away came to the line number 7. That is the first line of our function. And what we can do is we can just try and print our input parameters. Okay, in p num1, so it is 9, which we have passed from here. We have passed a over here. Okay, the value of a is 9, so it has come in num1. Okay, let us now try and print num2. So okay, so it is 8. So 8 is over here inside b, and we pass b over here in place of num2. So what happens is these are our input parameters, which are placeholders. So whatever value is passed to the function over here, when we call that function, in the function call, we pass some variables. Okay, these variables should be in the same sequence in which we have declared that parameters. So these arguments should be in the same sequence in which we have our parameters, and their data types should also match. So if we are expecting an integer over here, so our first argument should also be integer. If our first parameter is an integer, then first argument should also be an integer, and if our second parameter is an integer, so second argument should also be an integer. And similarly, if there had been a character somewhere here, so our argument at that particular position should also be a character, and number of arguments should also match. Okay, these are two arguments. Here also we have two arguments. Okay, so now our control is at the first line of our function, the 7th line. So let us see. Now since we don't have to step into any other function, we will press the next line button. So now it has calculated sum, so we can print sum over here. Okay, it is 17. Okay, now let us try and print the result. Okay, it will not get printed. Why? Because result is not in this particular scope. Okay, it is saying the result is not in current context. So we have done variable scopes when we had studied about variables in C language. So what happens is the variable scope is, this is a local variable, and a local variable's scope is valid only within the block. So this is the function block, and this variable sum is declared within this particular function block, so it will be accessible only between these two brackets, and the variable result is declared between these two function blocks, so it will be accessible only within these two brackets. Okay, if we declare a variable before the main function, and it should not be inside any other function. Okay, it should be over here. So that particular variable will be a global variable, and it will be accessible throughout this particular file. Okay, we will do some small examples on variable scopes in some later stages, but for the timing just understand that. And this variable sum will not be accessible inside the main function. Now we have printed the value of sum, that is 17. Now as we press the next line, now see where the control goes. Watch where the control goes. It should again go to the same line where the okay, so it has gone right at the bottom of the line from where we have called it. So now if we print the value of result, it should be accessible because now we are within that scope, and it is 17. But now if we try to print the value of sum, it will not be printable because we are not in that particular scope. Okay, here since we have named the function also sum, so what will happen if I print the value of sum, it will actually print the address of that particular function. So it is actually printing the function. Okay, so since there is no variable sum, but yes, there is a function which is named as sum, so that is being printed over here. Okay, okay, so now we will execute our print statement when I press the next line, and it will display the output on my console window. Result is 17. As soon as I press the next line, it will return 0, and our program will exit. Okay, so our program has now exited, and we have done how to call a function within the same particular file. So now we will also try one more thing. Okay, I want to try one more thing, so as the concept is more clear to you, so what I will do is, instead of declaring this function over here I will cut it from over here. Okay, and I will paste it at the bottom of the main function. Now see what happens when we try and compile this particular code. First save it and then we try and build this particular code. Let's see what happens. So it has given me warning that there is an implicit declaration of the function sum. Okay, so although it has found the definition, but the declaration is not there. So you have straight away called the function without that particular function being defined prior to the function call. So our function call is over here on this line, but we have defined the function over here on line number 16, and we have not declared it anywhere before. So either you define the function before your function call, or another option is to put a declaration line over on the top. So just copy this line, the first line of your function, and place it over here and put a semicolon after that. So after the declaration lines you have to put a semicolon. Okay, so now our declaration is in place. This is our declaration. Okay, and this over here is our function definition. Now let us try and save our code and build it. Now it will not give that particular warning because the declaration is there and definition is also there at its place. The declaration must be before the function call if the definition is somewhere later on, but in that case declaration should be there. So now let us try one more thing. Just let me remove this definition altogether from this code. Okay, so I have deleted the definition altogether, and now let us try save this function. The declaration is there. Okay, declaration is over here, but definition is not there. Let me build this one. Let's see. Okay, so it is giving me an undefined reference to function sum. So although it found the declaration, so its compilation was done, but it gave an error during linking. Okay, during the linker when it ran, it tried to find the definition of function sum, and it straight away gave an error to me. So what I can do is I can also have another file in which I can define this particular function. So let me just add a new file, empty file. Do you want to add this file in active project? Yes. Okay, so I will name this file as functions.c. Okay. Okay. So it comes over here. In this particular file, what I will do is I will first let me copy the definition from over here. So I will cut it from over here. I will paste it over here, and I also need to include some header files that I will just copy from my main code. From here I will copy the header files, and these I will paste in the function.c file also. Okay, so this is done. Now let me try and save my program and then try to compile it. Let us see if it runs or not. If it compiles or not. Okay, yes, it has compiled. Okay, so now since I have the declaration in place, it has compiled the code, and during linking it tried to find the function somewhere, and it found it inside functions.o file. Okay, so now if we see our compilation, this is the compilation of function.c. Okay, it compiled and created a object file functions.o, and second time what happened, let me zoom it in for your clarity. Okay, yes, so this is the first step that our compiler took. It compiled the functions.c file and generated an object file functions.o. Okay, and then on the next step what happened was our main.c was compiled and it generated a file main.o. So compilation is fine. Okay, even if I don't have the functions.c file in which I have defined the sum function, then also main.c would have been compiled to main.o if this declaration was there. Okay, so compilation time only the declaration is checked, not the definition. Okay, but when it tried and linked it, when it tried to create an output file to execute. When it try to create an executable over here, at that time it checks all the object files that have been compiled. Okay, so what it did was it actually now searched the function sum into some of the object files, and it would have found it in functions.o, and then it would have actually generated the linking and created our final executable over here. So that is how the function is searched during compilation and linking. Okay, so if we remove this declaration from here, we will again get that same error that we were earlier getting. That let us try and see what we get. We'll get the same warning implicit declaration of the function sum. So one more way is, in place of declaring the function inside our CMC file, we declare it within a header file. Okay, that is the cleanest way to do that. So let us create a new empty file, and we will name it as functions.h. Okay, so this is a header file, so let us name it by the extension .h. So this is a header file done. Now what we will do is we will first just copy these two include statements of the header files. Okay, and inside the headers folder our header file is created. Now paste it over here. Now what we need to do is just the declaration needs to be there inside this particular file. Just copy it and inside function.h paste it and have a semicolon. Okay, so this is our functions.h file, which is now complete. Now just save it. If you will run it now, let us see it compiles or not. Right now it will not compile because we have missed one step, but let me show you that. It will compile, but it will give a warning. It will give the same warning that it was earlier given. Okay, so what happened is it will give the warning because our main file does not include the file functions.h. So to include file functions.h, what we will do is, so we have discussed earlier also that while including the files from local projects, we have to use quotation marks instead of triangular brackets or greater than less than sign. We have to use double quotes. So that signifies that this include file, this header file, is in our local folders. So here we will include functions.h. Now let us try save it and build it. So now it is building, and now it has again built the code. Now our build is successful. So our three components, declaration, definition, and function call, are all completed. So our declaration is in the header file. That is how it should be. Earlier we tried to do it in the C file also, that also worked, but this is the right thing to do. Okay, then our definition is in a C file, which is separate from our main file. Okay, it is in a separate file over here. And similarly, in our main function we have the call function, call to that particular function. These are the three components of a function that we have studied. So I hope whatever we did in this particular program was clear to you, and continue to watch the course Basics of Programming in C language. Thank you.